afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time Harrison Young, I should say. We're 5 days away from Christmas. It is a beautiful, mild, I think it's the first day of winter. I'm pretty sure December 20th is it, and that's where we're at now on December 20th. So I'm doing another show to Salem, Oregon tonight. The gentleman I'm interviewing, he goes by the Quad. His name is Derek, but he goes by the Quad Father of podcasting. We'll talk all about that. He'll correct me if I made any mistakes with his moniker once we start the actual interview. But before we do that, we got to read these incredible underwriters. We don't have a lot, but they're all great, so we read them off. So we have Crazy Axes Rec Center in Hanover. We have the Cornerstone Barbershop in Pembroke. We have a new one, Stop and Stands, also in Pembroke. We have a Kingston Auto Body in Kingston. We have New England Floorscapes in Middleborough. We have good old Dave's Automotive in Hanson, right up the road here on Route 58. We got Salon Giovanni in Marshfield. We have Bulldog Sports Cards in Middleborough. We have the Auto Shop in Hanover. Thanks, Ed Rooney, Master Mechanic. We have Pals Driving School in Middleborough, setting up classes for January and February and April of 2024. Check the website and get on it because they're going fast. And that's Middleborough and Pals Driving School. We got Genuine's Inspection in Middleborough. We got Pembroke Radiator in Pembroke. We got the Hanover House of Pizza in Hanover. They make delicious Sicilian pizza, Greek salads, and have awesome people working there, and they deliver. We have the Gunrunner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough, and we have DNS Auto Works and collision specialists at Abington, also right up the road here on Route 58. And I want to thank you guys very much. And now, Derek, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing, Harrison?
Good. You seem like a low-key guy, but you have a podcast. Tell me about your podcast a little bit, and then I'll profile you a little more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do a podcast called BYB Podcast. It's on YouTube at BYB_POD.
Okay.
Whatever. We cover comedy, we cover current events, whatever funny things going on the internet. Kind of a just all around show.
Yeah.
Mostly comedy.
That's good. Comedy's good. Comedy. We all need to laugh. How long you been doing it for?
About a year now.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of got a start. Just jumped on the internet and then started calling into like Compound Media, as you can see that from the Compound Studios today here.
Okay. Well, wait. Are you call it Compound Studio now? I was gonna make reference to that, but now you upped it for me. So what I'm gonna say is you're in Salem, Oregon, but that picture behind you was New York City, and I didn't know that until you told me a few minutes ago before we started the show. And that's the name of the studio, Compound Studios? That you're in?
Yeah, Compound Studios. It's the Anthony Cumia Studios, but yeah, they're high above New York City.
Okay.
In Oregon.
Oh, okay. So, but all right. Well, is this a branch of the New York studio? Is that what this is that you're in or at?
Yeah. This is just the backdrop of the Compound Studio. It's whatever. I enjoy watching that program, so I stole their backdrop and I just use it as my own too. So
okay, I guess there's no copyright infringement when you steal someone's backdrop. It's just when you plagiarize other things. All right. Okay. Well, tell me about yourself. You grew up. You lifelong resident of that area, Salem, Oregon, and that vicinity.
Actually, it's more Southern Oregon, but yeah, lifelong Oregon resident.
Oregon. I've never been to Oregon. I do have a cousin who lives out there. I think she's in Salem. I'm not positive. Okay.
Right. Yeah, Salem's the capital. I live in more rural Oregon, so I'm out in the middle of nowhere in the sticks, as they call it.
Okay. Well, obviously you have pretty good reception there because I can hear you clear as a bell, which is what we want.
That's right. That's expensive Wi-Fi, but it works.
Works perfect. All right. Well, tell me about what did you do as a kid growing up? That sort of got you into what you're doing now. We'll just take it one step at a time, and then we'll talk about the people that you've interviewed on your podcast.
I would say I absolutely have never done anything up till I started doing a podcast that got me into doing podcasts. In reality, I only started calling into like radio programs maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
And that was actually kind of my start. And if you look at people like, Shuli Egar, who was calling into Howard Stern and whatnot, and that's how he ended up getting on the Howard Stern program. So just doing bits and being goofy. And I didn't even like getting up in front of classrooms to do like speeches or, to do anything social like that.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I got super nervous and I didn't really like doing it, but for some reason sitting here in front of a computer with a microphone and a camera is a whole lot easier, and I don't get
Yeah,
as
because
nervous having
nobody can throw stuff at you or shoot you.
or yeah, stare
Yeah.
at me. I just don't like like eye contact with people in a big crowd. So yeah,
Oh,
being here at home on a computer has it's no threat. So I enjoy it.
okay, that's good. Okay, that's wonderful because your backdrop looks incredible. I mean, that really grabs the viewer on the other end by by the bullhorns basically. The back of New York City there, which is what you're right over the East River. It looks like, but I thought,
Yeah, look, yeah, if I backed up a couple feet, I'd be out the window, right?
yeah, I guess. Okay, all right. Well, so how many days a week do you do your podcast now?
Yeah, we do 4 days a week. I mean, we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern, but we also just started a new show on Sundays. Probably not this Sunday because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
But typically on Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern, we will be doing a show covering the Dabbleverse. I don't know if you're very
Well, I know
informed on
Dabble Stonian because he got me. He got us together. Is that what you mean?
Right. No, there's a whole entire part of the internet that's called the Dabbleverse that covers like Kevin Brennan, Shuli Egar, Stuttering John Melendez, who was on
yeah.
the Jay Leno show and on Howard Stern. So he's pretty much like the centerpiece for the entire world. Chrissy Mayer actually had him on her podcast and was asking him about his comedy career and asked him if he still is in dabbles in comedy. That totally made him angry and upset, and he stormed off.
Why did
Because
you get mad?
it's an offhanded remark, but he took offense to it because he considers himself a serious comedian. So he doesn't think that he dabbles in comedy, that he's a very serious professional, and that was like a slight against him. So he took it as a slight and blew up on Chrissy Mayer, who is an actual very good comedian. And it started this whole thing. That argument ended up creating a world called the Dabbleverse around that comment, dabble in comedy.
I'm glad I asked because now I know, and I think that it's interesting when you have two little comments that create a worldwide chain reaction like this, which is basically what you're saying.
Right.
I would love to interview both those people on my show. Maybe bring them together again if possible, or even just one at a time, just to find out what they're about. Have you now all those people you just mentioned? Have you had Stuttering John on your show?
No. Like Dabblestorian, he's been on with Stuttering John. Stuttering John has his own podcast as well.
Right.
But yeah, Dabblestorian's been on there. He's helped shepherd him through some of the Dabbleverse stuff. Stuttering John's kind of a boomer as far as tech and whatnot goes. So he's had people around him, but he usually ends up having issues with everyone that he comes across. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've heard that.
He's a tough character.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me some of the. Are there any people that you've had on your podcast that I would know of? If not, that's fine. But I'm just trying to.
Right. Yeah, like Shuli Egar and
okay.
Yeah, people like that are involved in the Dabbleverse and whatnot. So we definitely try to have comedians on my show, Ray DeVito. Yeah, there's a long list of people that are comedians, Gino Visconti, that are all comedians in the New York City area. As well, we have a fellow named Stevie Lou who's on our podcast.
Okay.
He was a comedian at some point, but whatever, he quit to do other things, but he's on our podcast as a regular co-host.
Okay. Do you have now? Is he the only regular co-host you have, or do you have other people that help out as well?
Yeah, we have quite a few people on my show. It's an irregular show. Typically shows you'll have like a host and maybe a guest or maybe like a co-host. Typically in radio they say like 3 mics is best for performance.
Okay.
But on my show, we like to have 5, 6, 7. You can have up to 9 people on screen, and typically we have had up to that many people on our show at once. It's a lot of talking, and but it's an interesting format. We try to be different than all the other shows, so ours is unique in that way.
Originality rules. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy doing interviewing one person at a time, but I could interview 9 people if I had to, I suppose. But it might make it easier only because then that they would talk amongst themselves, and that would make that would take a lot of the weight off me. So I always look at every interview I do as kind of a challenge too, because I don't know what I'm going to say that's going to flip out someone I interview. But all right, well, so from the sticks of Oregon, you started calling people and talk radio, and you ended up deciding to do your own podcast.
Right. Yeah. No, I kind of hooked up on social media with other people that are, like-minded and also called into the same kind of programs I did. So it was like a small community of people that call into shows
Right.
that all kind of knew each other and, do characters, call in, goof around. We did. So, I found the other people on my show like that.
Okay. Now, what about your own? Have you done comedy at all in any capacity?
No, not a comedian. Whatever, just you as a goof, I'm a guy that likes to goof on people, so I have
Okay.
I have a comedian ability in some ways, like locker room talk slash comedy. So
I like it.
I've been doing that my entire life, so it comes naturally to goof on people.
I hear you.
That on a podcast that works perfectly.
It absolutely does. Now, what happens? Do you have any female co-hosts at all?
Yeah, we have a lady named Little Lemmy that's on our show on a regular basis, and her significant other, her worse half, I'll say, Granny. But she comes on a.
Granny? What do you mean, Granny? I mean, what do you?
His name is Granny.
Really?
Little Lemmy, like I said, she's a regular on our show. She's well informed on everything that's going on in the Dabbleverse and beyond.
Okay.
Whatever. She's the one lady, though. The name of our show is The Backyard Boys.
Okay.
We do have one lady, so there
That's
you go.
her. Well, okay. Well, I mean, the reason I'm asking is because sometimes I think it's better if you're going to do locker room talk than if you have women on the show, because it makes them, I don't know. For me, it thrills the senses more when you have women, like the way Howard Stern does it with a lot of his female guests. So I mean, I haven't watched them, listened to
women that are capable of taking a joke, right? Like
well,
that.
Yeah, it's right. Exactly.
She is.
Okay, that's good. So they're I guess they're a married couple. Is that it, or just in a relationship?
Right. Yeah, just in a relationship, but yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have a family? Do you have a big family yourself? Do you have wife, kids, or anything like that?
No, not necessarily. Yeah. That's the one thing I think Dabblestorian wanted to have me on because my story is a little bit interesting because my name Quadfather is because I'm a quadriplegic.
Right.
So I confined to the wheelchair and whatnot, and this does add to doing something. So being part of a podcast is, it's enhanced my life.
Right. I'm sure it has. And is that the reason you go with that name, with that moniker?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. The Quadfather.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because I saw Derek and then I said, wait, okay. And that's when Dabblestonian decided to connect us and wow. Yeah. You're really into that. How often do you, I mean, how do you get your guests on the show? Do you just reach out on social media? Do you have now?
Right. Yeah. Because everybody I have on my show is from like New York City area. Nobody's really on the West Coast that I deal with. So I'm completely all the way across the country.
You're all the way across the country.
I've never met any of them.
So, okay. So you're all by yourself. So that includes the people you mentioned, that Lemmy lady there and Granny, right?
Yeah. Like they're in the South. But yeah, so a few of the people that are on my show are actually in New York City, like Stevie Lou, for example, the one comedian we have. But yeah, he actually knows all these people we have on our show on a regular basis in real life. Unlike myself, I won't be traveling to New York City anytime soon. It's a little bit of a thing to get across the country when you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Right. Okay. Well, you seem to be in good spirits. I mean, that's important. That's and I guess that's what keeps you going is the spirits and the laughter and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. Finding purpose in life after something extreme like breaking your neck and becoming a quadriplegic. Finding things to stay interested in and keep moving forward always.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to be said for that. I mean, I know I always say everything happens for a reason, and sometimes they're not always good things that happen. But if you can turn them around to your advantage, then then in the long run, maybe, ultimately you look back and say you still made the most of it. And that's all you can really do in life. Do you ever, do
Yeah,
you ever,
absolutely, man.
do
Absolutely.
you ever have musical guests on your show? Any performers? All right, tell me about that if you do, if you have musicians or.
Yeah, yeah. We no professional musicians, but whatever, people that have bands and whatnot. We for a period of time there, we had a pretty good guitar player. He made an intro for our podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did?
so yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mostly like heavy metal rock type musicians. I've been on quite a few podcasts where we've talked about music like heavy metal music or like classic rock music. So I've been on, I know some stuff about rock and roll and heavy metal, but we don't really do much of that on my show.
You don't. Have you ever played music yourself or
No,
sang?
no, no, no.
Never?
Well, I mean, when I was a young man,
That's what
yeah,
I
I
mean. When
played
you were
like
younger, right?
piano and violin and stuff, but yeah, that's been a long time ago.
Well,
My like being a quadriplegic, my hands don't work anymore, so uh,
wow.
I
Okay.
I could pick up a Gatorade,
Well, that's
but
good. You can
yeah,
drink it, right?
yeah. But
Okay.
there's no way I can play an instrument or
Oh,
like play video games or any of that stuff. So
okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, do you ever have like, I mean, when my show, I often have like models. I had a model on last week at one of my other locations. She was beautiful. She's kind of what she calls a gothic model. Do you ever have any guests like that on your show?
models, no, not necessarily. There's quite a few like porn stars that have gotten into comedy for whatever reason. I don't
Well, they
really
kind of go,
understand.
those things kind of go together if you think about it on many levels.
Uh, yeah, I don't know what a
Well, I mean, do you ever have people like that on your podcast?
right. Yeah, I mean we're closely related. Like in the Dabbleverse, even there's a bunch of people, female comedians or slash like porn stars or like Chrissy Mayer, for example. She's the one that started the entire Dabbleverse, like I was explaining the story earlier. She
Okay.
does a show on Compound right here, where it's called The Wet Spot, and that's pretty much all she has on there is like comedians or adult film stars, etc.
Okay. Do they ever show footage of their work while they're doing the podcast?
Yeah, because the Compound Studios is actually behind a paywall, so it's not something you can go look it up. It's like compoundamerica.com. But yeah, you definitely, unless you pay for it, you can't watch it. So it's not on YouTube or whatnot. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
they could show whatever they want.
Oh, okay. They can't. It's not regulated by the FCC, I guess, either.
Right. Yeah, it's subscriber based and it's behind a paywall. So yeah, there's no
What does that mean
SEC
behind the
involved.
paywall? You gotta pay extra, like Sirius Radio, right? Same kind of like that deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a corporation or whatever. Like it's a company and you go pay for it and
Okay.
nobody else can see it unless you subscribe to it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see. Well,
Subscriber based.
I mean, that's interesting because, I used to, back in the early 90s, I'd listen to Howard Stern regularly, and I asked, his show was on E as well, on entertainment simulcast, and that was always fun. But since he went to the Sirius uh, docket, I would not pay for that. It's not worth it. I don't think. I mean, I always enjoyed his antics and stuff, but I would not pay for them. I would not pay extra for them. But I guess a lot of people do. Plus, he was always getting in trouble. He was getting his bosses fined at the regular networks because he would always say things that would violate the FCC, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and his
so
bosses would have to bail him out.
right. And I remember that back in like what 2007, 2008 when he ended
Well, long
up
before
going
that,
to
he did started
no, when
serious.
he went to when he left E and he went to X Sirius and X,
Oh, no,
whatever
he
it was
didn't start
called.
that until
XM.
2007. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought he started that like in the late 90s. I didn't realize he'd gone all the way to 2007 with,
It
not
might have been like 2006, 2007,
okay.
2008, like somewhere in there.
Right.
When he ended up leaving and going to just, there was that merger when XM and Sirius merged and
Right.
it's whatever it is now, Sirius.
Right.
But yeah. So I remember he left E Network at that point. So
Okay.
like now they just do what they do audio mostly, but they put out clips of video.
Well, I'm sure
on the
they do,
internet.
but again, you have to subscribe. You have to pay for it now. Everything
Right.
with Howard Stern is pay now. You got to pay from the nose, basically.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like for my channel, for example, all you got to do is watch it on YouTube. So it makes it pretty nice. As
Oh, it
long as
does.
you have YouTube, you can watch it. So
Yeah, but now every show you do is by yourself, basically. All your people there are nothing. Nobody's actually with you in person.
no, yeah, it's like this. Yeah, we're doing it via we use StreamYards. You could use Zoom like we this is like an OBS system right here that I'm on. But it connects, it's just a camera that connects to like Zoom like this. But we also have StreamYards. We send out the links like you do, and people can join all the way up to like 9 people, like I said. Like tonight we have Fred Rubino, who's an actual comedian, and
Okay.
Friday we have Earl Skakel, who's actually a very well-known comedian.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
He did like the roast battle on he's been on Comedy Central, Showtime. You could find him pretty much anywhere. You could Google that name.
You ever had Lenny Clark on? You know who he is?
No, is he older comedian or newer or what?
Oh, he's old. He's 71, but he's from the Boston area, and he's pretty well known. He's been in a bunch of films. Let's see, remember that film, There's Something About Mary with Mike, and
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Stiller.
He was in that. He played the fireman. You know Sarah Silverman is, don't you? Did you ever have her on?
Yeah.
You've had Sarah Silverman on your show?
No, I thought you said Finding Sarah Silverman.
You know who she is, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
She's my cousin.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It
Yeah,
is.
because I've been on like a MLC podcast with Kevin Brennan,
Okay.
who actually like dated her back, when she was like 18 years old or something, when she
Oh,
was
all right. Well, so
just
just
starting
leave,
in
I guess.
comedy. She was actually dating Kevin Brennan, and I've been on his show like 4 times at this point.
Right. Okay.
Kevin Brennan, he's awesome. I mean, he does the MLC podcast, but he was on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
He had a pilot on a major network and whatever. He's a hilarious guy, but
Oh, I know. But SNL has really gone downhill. I watched it a couple of weeks ago because Olivia Rodrigo was on. I'm a big fan of hers. So I watched it to see her perform. But everything else in that show is so lame now. And the only actor I knew was I can't even think of it, the black guy. I can't think of his name. The one who's I don't know his name. I can't even think of it right now. It's just
there's probably more than one black guy.
I know.
I'm joking.
I can't
See, we do jokes. We do jokes on our podcast.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't remember which guy I'm talking about, but he's the one. He does a commercial. He says, I don't like you guys anymore because you're not following this. He does some kind of commercial, but yeah, I mean, it was really lame. It was like I don't know who any of those people are except for him. And I just never, and I thought to myself, just get to her. Like, let's hear her perform so I can turn the channel,
Yeah. No, Sarah Silverman, she was great.
Sorry, but Sarah, she hasn't been on the SNL for. She actually, from what I heard, she got into a scuffle with some of the other people, and that's why she had to leave. She caused a problem. She was too controversial.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, she did all the controversial things back in the day. She
still does.
She's trying to make up for now, but all the, like you say, SNL has become a total laughing stock. All the comedians think of it as a joke.
No, it's not a laughing stock. If it were a laughing stock, it would still be funny. It's not. That's what I meant to say. But
yeah, fair enough, man. It's
Yeah,
unwatchable.
I'd watch. I'd host. I bet I'd be pretty good if they gave me a chance.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I grew up kind of in the heydays. When I was a teenager, it was Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, like all the Norm Macdonald, all the best. And
Right.
For what it is now, it's absolutely unwatchable.
Absolutely.
I've watched
Yet it still continues.
like you said.
It still continues to flow after almost. It's been in running 48 years now. I remember the first episode, October 11th, 1975. I was 16. That was George Carlin hosted it. The late George Carlin. He would have been. Yeah, I mean, he talked about the 7, and Janisine was the musical guest. I didn't actually watch
7 words you can't say on
7
TV.
words you can't say. Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's really bothered me that I can't think of that comedian's name. Tyrone Green or something like that. Keenan Thompson. That's the one. He's the one.
Okay.
He's the only.
Yeah, he was a major part of that show for
He
a
still
lot
is.
of
He's the
years.
only, when I watched that show with Olivia Rodrigo a couple of weeks ago, he was the only comedian I remembered from the regular, from the regulars. The rest of them I did not, and their skits were horrible. Oh man. So
Yeah.
and yet they still continue to go. I mean, it's like it's going to continue no matter what. And
Yeah, what do you think? So you watched the first season live. What do you think? I hear a lot of the purists say that like after the first season that it was never good again. But I
no,
would
that's not
argue
true.
that
In the 80s, you got when Joe Piscopo came in and Eddie Murphy and those guys. I mean, they were great. It's just that the first batch of people were the trendsetters, obviously with Chevy Chase and Jane Curtin, and obviously the late John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and all those people. They're the ones that that began it. And
yeah, absolutely.
And then Gilda Radner, who's also passed, but it wasn't, but then it
Martin,
continued.
the greats.
Yeah, and then like you said, in the 90s, Chris Farley was pretty funny too. He passed in 97. I remember that right around this time. And so he's been gone for 26 years. So I think is when the century changed, that's kind of when it went downhill. And then I don't know.
Right. I think like Jimmy Fallon and Will Ferrell were like the last couple that were funny, but Kenan Thompson, he's always been fairly funny.
I know he's funny, but there were a lot. I mean, it took about 40 minutes to read off all the cast members, and then also back in 2011, Miley Cyrus hosted one episode, and I got to tell you, that was a funny episode. She hosted it, and she did she was the musical guest. Maybe they should have more musical guests hosting it now than because some of these musicians have more talents than just music. They could be, because Miley was an actress too, and she's still awesome.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, she worked for whatever Nickelodeon for a lot of years, but she's
Disney.
Hannah
Montana.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen a lot of I've seen an interview with her and Joe Rogan, and she is actually kind of a wild character behind the scenes, and
she
has a lot of really good stories. So she's actually a fairly interesting person.
She is. She's a spark plug. Well, all right. Well, guess what, Derek? We're down to the final 5 minutes of the show. I hope you had fun talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate having me on, Harrison.
Okay, well, what I want you to do, like I said at the beginning, is give shouts out to people that are going to see the show. You can talk, just condense them. They know those people that do the podcast with you. They know that that you're talking to them. If you can't name everybody, but that's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Appreciate Dabble Story and of course helping me get on your show today. Quite the experience. Really appreciate it. Everybody in the Dabbleverse, you know who you are. Everybody that follows our show. We do appreciate all the support. We have quite an awesome community of people that watch it. But like I said before, check us out. Be at BYB_POD on YouTube. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern. And like I said, 5 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, we'll start doing the Dabble Weekly. And that's not named after Dabble Storian, but yeah, check out daily. My buddy Dela is gonna start a new show called Dishonorable Discharge. So stay tuned for that one.
Okay, I'm psyched for that one. All right. So you did a great job with me. We're gonna wrap the show up now. I have one favor. After we finish, will you stick around and have my tech guy take a pic of us? And I'll get you up.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Man.
You're not on Facebook, I know that. So, but I'll share it. I'll make sure a lot of people see it. And then the show should probably be up next week, and then we'll share it with the world. I'll text it to you. I have your number.
Sounds great.
All right.
Sounds
And if you know anyone if you know any of those people that think would be a great guest on my show, send them my way. Just have them contact me and we'll get them on.
Awesome.
All right. We're going to wrap the show up. You ready? All right, guys. Yeah. See you after the Christmas holiday. We're wrapping it up. One more week left in 2023 after next week.
Awesome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.